Isabella Johnson had everything most people could only dream of: money, beauty, and a name that turned heads wherever she went. As the only daughter of the owner of a world-famous fashion brand, she had been in the spotlight her entire life. From magazine covers to exclusive parties, Isabella was always the center of attention. But none of it made her happy. Behind the designer dresses and expensive jewelry, she felt empty. She had been in relationships before: handsome businessmen, charming celebrities, even an athlete or two, but they all ended the same way. Once the excitement of dating a billionaire's daughter faded, their true colors showed. Some used her for money, others wanted status, and a few saw her as nothing more than a prize to show off. She could see it in their eyes, the way they admired her wealth more than her heart. She longed for something real, someone who would love her for who she was, not for what she had. But was that even possible? Her best friend, Mia, always told her she was being too dramatic. "You just need to find the right guy, Bella," Mia would say. "Not every man is like that." But Isabella had stopped believing in fairy tales a long time ago. That night, she sat alone in her penthouse apartment, looking down at the city lights. Yet she had never felt more alone. Her phone buzzed. A message from her boyfriend, Ben. "Can you send me that thing we talked about? Need it ASAP. Thanks, babe." "No, I love you." "No, how was your day? Just another request. Another favor." Isabella sighed. She had a sinking feeling she knew where this was going. And soon, she would find out the ugly truth. Isabella had always ignored the warning signs when it came to Ben. He was handsome, confident, and knew exactly what to say to make her feel special. When they first started dating, he made her believe he was different. He called her beautiful, held her hand in public, and acted like he truly cared. But deep down, Isabella always had a small doubt. Ben never asked about her dreams, her fears, or what made her happy. Instead, he talked about business, money, and networking opportunities. Whenever they went out, he expected her to pay, always forgetting his wallet. She tried to convince herself that he was just bad with money, but now she wasn't so sure. And tonight, she was about to get her answer. Isabella had just finished a charity event hosted by her father's company. Ben was supposed to meet her there, but he had cancelled last minute, claiming he had important work. Tired, she walked into a quiet lounge inside the hotel where the event was held, hoping to grab a drink before heading home. That's when she heard his voice. Ben. He was sitting at a booth with two other men, laughing loudly, completely unaware that she was just a few feet away. "I still can't believe you're dating Isabella Johnson, man. Do you actually like her?" one of the guys asked. Ben chuckled. "Like her? Please, she's just my golden ticket to the good life." Isabella froze. Her heart started pounding in her chest. "Come on, you don't actually care about her," his friend pushed. Ben smirked. "Bro, wake up. Do you know how many business deals I've locked just by being her boyfriend? These rich guys trust me because of her name, and the best part, she pays for everything." The men burst into laughter, but Isabella felt sick. "Damn, you're smart," the other guy said. "So what's the plan? Marry her and take half?" "Hell no," Ben scoffed. "I'll stick around until I get what I need, then I'll move on." "You think I actually want to spend my life with her? Once I'm set, I'm out." Isabella couldn't listen anymore. Her vision blurred and she clenched her fists, fighting back the tears. This whole time she had been nothing but a stepping stone to him. She stormed out of the lounge, her mind racing. She wanted to scream, to confront him, to make him regret every word. But what was the point? He wasn't worth her time. That night, as she sat alone in her apartment, Isabella made a decision. She was done wasting time on fake love. If men only saw her as a bank account, then she needed a way to test them, to see if any guy out there could love her for who she truly was, and she knew exactly how to do it. She picked up her phone and called Mia. "I need your help," she said. Isabella sat across from her father in his large office in the heart of Lagos City. The office smelled of expensive wood polish and fresh coffee, but Isabella barely noticed. Her father, Chief Johnson, was a powerful businessman, respected, feared, and admired in the fashion industry. But today, he was just a father, watching his daughter with worry in his eyes. "I need a break, Daddy," Isabella said, her voice firm but calm. Chief Johnson rubbed his head and leaned back in his chair. "A break? From what? Your business? Your life?" "From everything," Isabella said, looking down at her hands. "From being Isabella Johnson." Her father frowned. "Is this about that Ben boy? I told you from the start. He was no good." "It's not just Ben, Daddy," she sighed. "It's every man I've ever been with. They all want me because of my father's name, my money, my lifestyle. Nobody sees me for who I really am." Her father was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "So what do you want to do?" Isabella took a deep breath. "I want to go somewhere far from here. I want to start a new life, live like a normal person, and see if any man will love me for me." Chief Johnson looked at her carefully. "You are not a normal person, Isabella. You were born into wealth. You have never worked for anything in your life. How will you survive?" Isabella gave a small smile. "I have a plan." Later that evening, Isabella met her best friend Mia at a private beauty studio in a Lowo town. Mia was the only person Isabella trusted completely. They had been friends since secondary school, and now Mia was a makeup artist and fashion stylist. "Okay, explain this madness," Mia said, tying her braids into a bun. "Why do you need my help?" "I want you to make me ugly," Isabella said seriously. Mia burst into laughter. "What? You ugly? How?" "I mean it, Mia," Isabella said. "I want to disguise myself completely. I want to know if a man will love me if I don't look beautiful and rich." Mia shook her head, still laughing. "Bella, you are crazy, but I love crazy." She got to work immediately. First, she gave Isabella a rough old wig, nothing like her usual soft, expensive hair. She darkened Isabella's perfect skin with fake pimples and uneven patches. She added crooked yellowish fake teeth that made her smile ugly. Instead of designer clothes, she dressed Isabella in cheap slippers, an old wrapper, and a faded t-shirt. When Isabella looked in the mirror, she gasped. "Oh my God," she muttered, touching her rough-looking cheeks. Mia smirked. "Meet the new you. What's your name, by the way? You can't be Isabella Johnson anymore." "Bella," she said after a moment. "Just Bella." The next morning, Bella left the city and traveled to a small town, a quiet place where nobody knew her. She had rented a small one-room apartment near the market. It was nothing like her father's big mansion. It had a small bed, a tiny gas cooker, and a wooden chair. There was no air conditioner, no soft carpets, no maids, but for the first time in her life she felt free. No more bodyguards, no more cameras, no more men chasing her for money. Just Bella, a struggling woman, looking for a job, searching for something real. The next morning, Bella woke up early to the sound of children playing outside. The air smelled of firewood smoke and freshly fried akara. She had slept on a thin mattress on the floor, her back aching slightly. There was no housekeeper to bring her tea, no driver waiting to take her anywhere, just her and her new reality. Today was the day. She needed a job. Bella took a deep breath. "I can do this." Bella walked through the busy streets of Ilupeju town, looking for job opportunities. Her first stop was a small restaurant where they were looking for a waitress. "Do you have experience serving customers?" The owner, a short round woman named Auntie Bisi, asked. Bella hesitated. "Yes," she lied. "Good. Take this tray to that table," Auntie Bisi ordered. Bella balanced the tray in her hands, but before she could take 2 steps, she tripped over her own feet. The tray crashed to the floor, and hot pepper soup splashed everywhere. "Jesus, you have 2 left legs!" Auntie Bisi shouted. "Get out before you burn my customers!" Bella ran out, embarrassed. Next, she tried a fashion boutique. "Do you know how to arrange clothes?" the shop owner asked. "Yes," Bella said, relieved. But when she folded the clothes, the owner screamed, "This is not how you fold clothes. Are you folding napkins for rich people? I beg, go." Bella sighed. This was harder than she thought. By midday, Bella was tired, hungry, and frustrated. She had been rejected from every job she applied for. Just as she was about to give up, she saw a small bookstore with a sign outside. "Help wanted. Inquire inside." Bella took a deep breath and pushed the door open. The bookstore smelled like old paper, and fresh coffee books were stacked neatly on wooden shelves, and a small fan hummed in the corner. Behind the counter sat an elderly woman with warm eyes and silver-streaked hair. "Good afternoon, Ma," Bella greeted. The woman looked up and smiled. "Good afternoon, my dear. How can I help you?" "I saw the sign outside," Bella said. "I'm looking for a job." The woman studied her. "Have you ever worked in a bookstore before?" Bella thought of all the books in her father's library, expensive hardcovers that were only for decoration. She had never touched them. "No," she admitted, "but I learn fast." The woman nodded. "What's your name?" "Bella." "Well, Bella, I'm Mrs. Kemi. You can start tomorrow." Bella almost hugged her. "Thank you so much, Ma." Mrs. Kemi smiled. "Just don't drop my books like a careless person, eh?" Bella laughed for the first time that day. Maybe this wasn't going to be so bad after all. Working in the bookstore was peaceful, but it was also a struggle. Bella had never swept a floor before, and the first time she did, Mrs. Kemi laughed at her technique. She couldn't believe how heavy books could be when arranging them on shelves. She missed air conditioning. The small fan in the corner could only do so much. But despite the struggles, nobody stared at her because of her father's name. Nobody cared about her money. She was just Bella, an ordinary girl working in a bookstore. And for the first time in her life, she felt like she belonged. She had finally begun to adjust to her new life in Ilupaju town. Every morning, she swept the bookstore floor, dusted the shelves, and arranged books. She still struggled with basic things like handling cash and balancing the accounts, but Mrs. Kemi was patient with her. "You will learn," the elderly woman always said. "Life is about learning." For the first time, Bella felt useful. She was earning her own money, even if it was a small salary. She was no longer Isabella Johnson, the billionaire heiress. She was just Bella, the bookstore girl. One afternoon, Bella was stacking books on a high shelf when the door creaked open. A man walked in, wiping grease-stained hands on his overalls. He was tall, well-built, with deep brown skin and strong arms. His shirt had oil marks, and he smelled faintly of engine oil and soap. Bella watched as he walked past the romance section without a second glance and went straight to a small shelf in the corner labeled Motoring Engineering. He picked up a book, flipped through the pages, then nodded to himself. "Excuse me," Bella said, walking over. "Can I help you?" He turned to her and smiled, noticing her for the first time. "No, thank you. I know what I'm looking for," he said. His voice was deep and calm, unlike the fake, sweet-talking voices of the rich men Bella was used to. "All right," Bella said, stepping back. She expected him to ignore her after that, like most people did when they were focused on books. But to her surprise, he spoke again. "You're new here," he said. "I haven't seen you before." Bella nodded. "I just started working here a few days ago." He wiped his hand on his overalls and stretched it out. "I'm Desmond." Bella hesitated, then shook his hand. "Bella." Desmond smiled again. "Nice to meet you, Bella." Then he went back to reading his book. Bella watched him for a moment. He was different. He didn't stare at her strangely, didn't flirt, and didn't try to impress her. He just treated her like a normal person, and she found that refreshing. The next day, Bella was at the counter when she heard loud laughter outside the bookstore. The door swung open dramatically, and a tall, light-skinned man dressed in expensive designer clothes walked in, followed by two of his friends. His name was Derek Ajayi, and Bella had heard of him from the town gossip. He was the son of a rich businessman, and his hobby was flirting with girls who liked books. Derek walked straight to the counter, flashed a white-toothed smile, and leaned close. Bella blinked. "Can I help you?" Derek laughed, as if she had told a funny joke. "Oh, I like them feisty. You must be new. What's your name, sweetheart?" Bella forced a smile. "My name is Bella, and I am busy." Derek chuckled and turned to his friends. "See why I like bookstore girls? They act tough, but deep down, they want attention." Bella rolled her eyes and turned away. She had met men like him before, rich, spoiled, and used to getting what they wanted, "All right, Bella," Derek said, still smiling. "Tell me, what's the most romantic book you have? Something we can read together." Bella picked up the thickest, most complicated book on the shelf and slammed it on the counter. "Here, Advanced Philosophy and Ethics, over 700 pages. Derek's smile faded. His friends laughed. "You won't survive page 1, one of them joked. Derek forced a laugh. "I like your boldness, Bella, despite your plain and ugly appearance. I'll be back." He winked, then turned and swaggered out of the bookstore. Bella shook her head. "That one is trouble," Mrs. Kemi said, watching from the back. "I can see that," Bella replied. That evening, she thought about Desmond and Derek. One was quiet, hardworking, and respected her space. The other was loud, playful, and full of himself. She already knew the type of man Derek was, but Desmond, he was different. And for the first time in a long time, she found herself curious. Would he come back to the bookstore? Would they talk again? Bella shook her head. "I came here to find true love, not to get distracted." But deep down she knew. She was already distracted. Isabella had never paid attention to how men treated other people before. In her old life, she was used to being the center of attention. People always acted nice around her because they wanted something. But now, as an ordinary girl working at the bookstore, she had the chance to see people's true nature. Desmond continued to visit the bookstore, buying engineering books and reading quietly in a corner. One afternoon, as Bella was organizing some books, she overheard a conversation between Desmond and a young boy. "Uncle Desmond." The boy, who couldn't have been more than 10 years old, ran up to him excitedly. "My bicycle is broken again." Desmond smiled and patted the boy's head. "Again?" "I just fixed it last week." The boy pouted. "I was trying to do tricks." Desmond laughed, then stood up. "All right, let's go check it out." Curious, Bella followed them outside. She watched as Desmond knelt beside a rusty old bicycle inspecting the chain. Without hesitation, he rolled up his sleeves and got to work fixing the problem in minutes. "Wow, Uncle Desmond, you're the best," the boy cheered. "Any time, little man," Desmond said with a grin, wiping his hands on a rag. Bella smiled to herself. He didn't ask for money. He didn't brag about what he did. He just helped because he could. Later that day, she asked Mrs. Kemi about him. "That boy is a rare gem," the old woman said. "You know he has a first-class engineering degree?" Bella's eyes widened. "Really?" Mrs. Kemi nodded. "Yes, he studied mechanical engineering and graduated with top honors. But after school, he struggled to get a job in the big cities. Big companies want connections more than talent." Bella frowned. She knew all about how unfair the world could be. "So why is he here?" she asked. "Because he loves what he does," Mrs. Kemi replied. "Instead of sitting at home waiting for a big company, he came here, started fixing cars and machines, and now he's known as the best mechanic in town." Bella found herself admiring Desmond even more. He wasn't just kind. He was smart, hardworking, and passionate. And he had built himself up without needing favors or handouts. Derek, on the other hand, was the opposite. He still came to the bookstore, but he never bought books. He just flirted with the beautiful girls who came to read. One day, Bella was at the counter when a young girl walked in looking nervous. "Excuse me, sir," the girl said softly to Derek. "Please, I need help. My brother is sick and I'm looking for—" Derek cut her off, waving his hand dismissively. "Do I look like your father? Go and beg someone else." Bella's stomach turned. The girl looked embarrassed and quickly left. "That was harsh," Bella said. Derek rolled his eyes. "Bella, let me tell you something. In this life, only fools give without expecting something in return. If I help her, what do I gain?" Bella stared at him, disgusted. She thought back to Desmond fixing the little boy's bicycle. He hadn't gained anything from it. He just did it because it was the right thing to do. Derek, on the other hand, only cared about himself. Bella spent the next few days watching the two men closely. Desmond always helped others, even when nobody was watching. He fixed things for free, shared his knowledge, and never looked down on anyone. Derek only did things that benefited him. He only spoke to pretty girls, ignored those he found plain or poor, and treated people like they were beneath him. And for the first time, Bella started to feel something she wasn't expecting. She had come to this town to test men, but somehow she was the one being changed. She was starting to really care, about Desmond. And that scared her. She had spent weeks observing Desmond and Derek, watching how they treated people. Now, it was time for the final test. She wanted to know how they would act around wealth, power, and beauty. Would Desmond remain kind and real? Would Derek continue to be selfish and arrogant, or would he suddenly fall in love with her? There was only one way to find out. She decided to organize an exclusive charity gala, an event where she would appear as her real self. Isabella Johnson, the billionaire heiress. Bella sent anonymous invitations to both men. The invitation simply read, "You are invited to an exclusive charity gala. Dress code, formal." She wanted to see their raw, natural reactions. Would Desmond still care about her when he saw her true self? Would Derek treat her with respect? It was the perfect test. But things didn't go as planned. A day before the event, Derek walked into the bookstore looking annoyed. "Bella," he said, tapping the counter impatiently, "my date for the gala just cancelled on me." Bella's heart skipped a beat. "Which gala?" she asked carefully. "An exclusive party happening tomorrow, obviously," he scoffed. "All the rich and powerful people will be there. I can't go alone and look stupid." Bella was shocked he was inviting her. She didn't expect that. "So, you want me to go with you?" she asked. Derek laughed, shaking his head. "Not like that, obviously," he said, waving at her clothes. "I can't be seen with someone so plain." Bella felt a sting in her chest. She had given him a chance to prove himself, and once again he had failed miserably. Still, she agreed to go, wanting to see how far his arrogance would go. Meanwhile, Desmond had also received the anonymous invitation. At first, he wasn't sure if he should go. He didn't like big, fancy events. They made him uncomfortable. But he had made up his mind. He was going to ask Bella to be his date. That evening, he walked into the bookstore with a nervous smile. "Bella," he said, rubbing the back of his head. "There's this event happening tomorrow. A private party. Would you like to come with me?" Bella froze. Desmond had wanted her to go with him, but now she was already going with Derek. Her chest tightened with guilt. I can't," she said softly. "I already promised someone else." Desmond's smile faded slightly, but he nodded. "That's okay," he said. "I just thought..." "Never mind." Bella wanted to tell him the truth, to explain that this was all a test. But it was too late now. All she could do was wait for tomorrow. The party was a grand event held at the most expensive hotel in the city. Expensive chandeliers sparkled above the ballroom. Guests wore designer clothes, showing off their wealth. Camera flashes filled the room, capturing the most important people in society. Derek arrived at the event ready to mingle. Bella soon joined him a moment later, wearing her best plain cloths and a rusty synthetic wig. The problem started immediately. She had deliberately dressed simply. She wanted to see how he would treat her in front of others. And she got her answer quickly. As soon as they stepped into the grand ballroom, people stared at them. Some laughed quietly, others whispered behind their glasses of champagne. Derek's embarrassment was instant. He glanced at Bella, his face twisting in horror. "What are you wearing?" he hissed, stepping away from her. "People are looking at us. I am very ashamed to be seen walking with someone so ugly. No makeup can save you." Bella swallowed hard. She had expected this, but it still hurt. Derek turned his back on her, pretending like she didn't exist. Instead, he walked towards a group of beautiful women, laughing and flirting with them. Bella stood alone in the middle of the grand hall, feeling humiliated. The man she had come with had completely abandoned her. Her chest tightened. She couldn't do this. She turned and ran out of the hall, her eyes blurring with tears. Meanwhile, Desmond had arrived at the party, looking uncomfortable in his borrowed suit. He wasn't used to this kind of life. Fancy lights, rich people, loud music. The only reason he had come was to find Bella, But when he arrived, she saw her running out of the grand hall, looking hurt and abandoned. Then he saw Derek laughing with other women, completely ignoring her. Desmond's jaw tightened. His heart raced. Something was very wrong. He ran after her, pushing through the crowd. "Bella!" he called out. But by the time he reached the entrance, she was gone. Desmond stood there, breathing hard frustration filling his chest. Where did she go? He whispered to himself. He had never felt so worried about someone in his life. And at that moment, he realized something. He cared about Bella more than he should. And he wasn't going to stop until he found her. Bella ran out of the gala, her heart pounding with anger and humiliation. Derek had abandoned her, embarrassed to be seen with her, and the stares from the rich guests had burned deep into her skin. She was done. Tonight, she would end this game. Her driver was already waiting for her. She got into the luxurious car and rushed to the luxury hotel where she had prepared her real outfit for the night, the one meant for Isabella Johnson, the billionaire heiress. It was time for Derek to face the truth. 15 minutes later, Isabella Johnson walked back into the gala, looking every bit like the powerful woman she truly was. She wore a stunning gold gown, her hair styled in soft waves, her makeup flawless. Diamond earrings sparkled under the grand chandeliers, and her heels clicked against the polished floor as she entered the hall with grace and confidence. Every head turned. Whispers spread like wildfire. Is that Isabella Johnson? The billionaire heiress? The same people who had mocked and ignored Bella earlier were now fawning over Isabella, eager to be in her presence. And then came Derek. The moment he saw her, his eyes lit up with greed. He immediately abandoned the woman he was talking to and rushed to Isabella's side. "Wow," he said smoothly, flashing his best smile. "I must say, you look breathtaking." Isabella raised an eyebrow. This was the same man who had humiliated her just an hour ago, the same man who had called her plain and embarrassing. And now, because she was rich and beautiful, he was practically begging for her attention. Pathetic. "Oh, really?" Isabella said, pretending to be interested. "And who are you?" Derek laughed confidently. "Ah, I am Derek Ajayi. Maybe you've heard of me?" "No," Isabella said bluntly. Derek's smile twitched, but he quickly recovered. "Well, I would love to get to know you better," he said, leaning closer. "Maybe we could—" "Excuse me, have you seen Bella?" A voice cut in. Isabella turned sharply. It was Desmond. His eyes were filled with concern as he looked around the hall, clearly searching for her. Unlike Derek, he wasn't interested in Isabella Johnson. He was worried about Bella, the simple bookstore girl. Isabella felt a lump in her throat. Desmond was the only man who hadn't changed. Even in a room full of the rich and powerful, his only concern was Bella. And that's when she knew a test was over. "Ladies and gentlemen," the announcer's voice rang through the hall, interrupting their conversation. "Please welcome our host for the evening, Miss Isabella Johnson." A round of applause filled the room as Isabella gracefully stepped onto the stage. Derek's eyes nearly popped out of his head. "Wait, what?" he whispered. The crowd fell silent as Isabella smiled confidently, scanning the room. Then, to everyone's shock, she reached into a small bag behind the podium and pulled out a wig. Without hesitation, she put on the rough brown wig she had worn as Bella, then slipped in the fake crooked teeth and rubbed a light layer of makeup to make her face look uneven. Gasps filled the room. In a matter of seconds, Isabella transformed back into Bella, the simple girl Derek had humiliated earlier. The entire hall froze in shock. Derek's face turned pale. No, this is a joke, right?" he stammered, laughing nervously. "This can't be. You're not Bella." "Oh, but I am," Isabella said, her voice cold. Derek swallowed hard, sweat forming on his forehead. Isabella took a deep breath and turned to the guests. "Many of you judged me tonight," she said, her voice calm but powerful. "You laughed at me, whispered about me, and treated me like I was beneath you, just because I looked ordinary." A few people in the crowd looked guilty. "But what you didn't know was that I was testing you." She turned to Derek. "And you, Derek Ajayi, failed miserably." The room was dead silent. Derek forced a smile. "Come on, Isabella. It was just a misunderstanding." Isabella held up a small microphone. Then, to Derek's horror, she pressed play, and his own voice boomed through the speakers. "People are looking at us. You'll need to do something about your look. I can't be seen with someone so plain and ugly." The guests gasped in horror. Derek froze his face, turning red with shame. "And then," Isabella continued, "as soon as you saw the beautiful, rich Isabella Johnson, you changed completely. You flattered me, chased me, and tried to impress me, because you thought I was important." A few people in the crowd snickered. Derek was finished. No, it's not like that." He tried to defend himself. "I was just joking earlier. Come on, Isabella, let's talk about this privately." Isabella smiled sweetly. "Why? Are you afraid of being embarrassed, Derek?" she said. "Because that's exactly what you did to me." Laughter rippled through the room. Derek's ego shattered into a million pieces. "I think we're done here," Isabella said. The crowd clapped and cheered, and Derek stormed out in humiliation. As the guests mingled, Isabella finally turned to Desmond. He was staring at her, his expression unreadable. "So, you were Bella this whole time?" he asked. She swallowed. "Yes." Desmond exhaled sharply. "I looked everywhere for you," he admitted. "When you ran out, I wanted to make sure you were okay." Her chest tightened. Even after everything, his only concern was her well-being. "You're not angry?" she asked softly. Desmond shrugged, a small smile forming. "I won't lie. I feel a little surprised, but I'm just glad you're okay." Isabella felt something stir in her heart. This was a man who had treated her the same way, whether she was Bella or Isabella. She had found her answer. And now, she had a new problem. What was she going to do about her feelings for Desmond? Desmond stood there, stunned as the reality of the situation sank in. Bella, the simple bookstore girl he had grown close to, was actually Isabella Johnson, the billionaire heiress. He had been looking for Bella all night, worried about her, only to find out that she had been right in front of him the whole time. Most men would have been angry or felt betrayed, but Desmond, he was just relieved. She was safe, and more than anything, he was still the same person around her. He took a deep breath and looked at her, his voice steady. "I don't care if you're Bella or Isabella," he said. "You're still you, and I still like you for who you are." Isabella's heart raced. You really mean that?" she asked softly. "I wouldn't be here if I didn't," Desmond said, smiling gently. She bit her lip, hesitating for a moment before finally gathering the courage to say what she had been holding back for so long. "Desmond, I have feelings for you," she confessed, her voice barely audible. Desmond's eyes softened, and for a second he just stared at her as if he was processing everything. Then he let out a small chuckle. "I think I knew that before you did," he said. Isabella laughed nervously, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "So, do you feel the same?" she asked. Desmond took a deep breath, then nodded. "I do," he admitted. "But there's something I'm scared of." Isabella's heart sank. "What is it?" Desmond rubbed his head, looking conflicted. "I don't want people to think I'm with you because of your money or status," he said honestly. "People will talk, Isabella. Your circle, your family. They might think I'm taking advantage of you. You're not just Bella anymore." Isabella frowned. "Why should we care what they think?" she asked. "We know the truth, Desmond, and that's all that matters." Desmond sighed, but he still looked uncertain. "I just don't want to be that guy, the one who people say married rich just to escape struggle. I want to stand on my own 2 feet, to be my own man." Isabella's chest tightened. She understood his fear. She reached for his hand. "I know you, Desmond. You're not that kind of person. You have integrity, you have ambition. If anyone ever says otherwise, they don't know you." Desmond smiled softly, squeezing her hand. "You really believe in me, huh?" "More than you know," she whispered. There was a brief silence before Isabella brightened up. "If you're worried about standing on your own, I can help you get a job in the engineering field," she offered. But Desmond immediately shook his head. "No," he said firmly. "I appreciate it, but I don't want to take advantage of your connections. If I get a job, I want it to be because of my own efforts, not because of who I'm dating. Isabella felt admiration swell in her heart. This was exactly why she loved him. His humility, his pride in his hard work, his refusal to take shortcuts. I respect that, she said with a small smile. But just so you know, you'll always have my support no matter what. Desmond grinned. That's all I need. And then, just as they were talking, Desmond's phone beeped. He frowned and pulled it out, his eyes widening in shock. What is it? Isabella asked, concerned. Desmond stared at the screen, his hands slightly shaking. It's an email. From an international engineering company, he said slowly. Isabella's eyes widened and Desmond took a deep breath and read the message. Dear Mr. Desmond, we are pleased to inform you that after reviewing your application and interview, you have been selected for the position of lead engineer. Your salary will be... He paused, his mouth slightly open in disbelief. Then, he let out a breathless laugh. Isabella, I got the job, he exclaimed. Isabella squealed with excitement, immediately throwing her arms around him. Desmond, that's amazing, she said, hugging him tightly. You did it! You got it on your own, just like you wanted. Desmond hugged her back, pure joy radiating from him. This was his moment. Not just because he got a job, but because he had proved to himself that he was capable. And Isabella couldn't be prouder. Over the next few weeks, Isabella and Desmond started fresh, this time with no disguises, no secrets, and no doubts. Their relationship blossomed naturally, built on trust, respect, and love. And surprisingly, when Isabella's father finally met Desmond, he was impressed. I can see why my daughter chose you, Chief Johnson had said. You are a man of dignity. Desmond had smiled and responded, Thank you, sir. I just love her for who she is. And that was the truth. Meanwhile, Derek's life took a different turn. After being humiliated at the gala, his reputation took a hit. People in the business world stopped taking him seriously, and women avoided him, knowing how two-faced he was. He had learned the hard way that money and status mean nothing if you don't know how to treat people right. And as for Isabella and Desmond, they had found what they had both been searching for all along: true love. A love that had nothing to do with looks, wealth, or power. Just two hearts, choosing each other, every single day. This was a beautiful journey about self-worth, true love, and the power of genuine connections. Isabella learned that not every man is after her money, and Desmond proved that real men build their own success. Lessons from the story: true love is not about money or status, it's about character. Real love survives without disguises or lies. The right person will love you for you.